The subject is the subject. And the predicate. Today, I'm going to begin taking a look at sentence parts. We've learned about individual words and the different parts of speech the individual words may have. Now, we want to look at the sentence parts to see what happens when you put the words together to form thoughts. And just as a kind of a reminder from probably past grammar classes, a sentence is a group of words expressing a complete thought. And any sentence is going to have two parts to it. It's going to have a subject and a predicate. The subject is the part of a sentence that refers to someone or something. The predicate is the part of the sentence that tells the action or condition of the subject. It tells us what the subject is doing or what the condition of the subject is. Here's a simple example. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is the subject. It's the person that the sentence is about. Is Lord is the predicate. It tells us the condition of the subject. The simple subject is the essential noun or pronoun or phrase which cannot be left out of the subject. Many times when the people or when grammar texts ask for the subject, they're really referring to the simple subject. But we can talk about the complete subject too. The complete subject is the simple subject plus any modifiers, including adjectives and phrases that modify the simple subject. In that sentence we had, the simple subject was also the complete subject. The subject was just one word. Okay, here's an example. The fullness of the Godhead bodily dwells in him. Fullness is the simple subject. Okay? What dwells? Fullness dwells. The fullness of the Godhead bodily is the complete subject. It includes the simple subject plus the words that modify it. The modifies fullness. Bodily modifies fullness here. And of the Godhead is a phrase that modifies fullness. So, the simple predicate is the essential verb or verb phrases which cannot be left out of the sentence. And the complete predicate is the simple predicate plus any modifiers of the verb and any complements that receive the action of the verb or indicate the condition of the subject after a linking verb. So again, similar pattern, but the simple predicate is the verb or verb phrase. It's doing the acting or showing the condition, and the complete predicate are the words that go along with that. Here's an example, same sentence. The fullness of the Godhead bodily dwells in him. Dwells is the simple predicate, the essential verb that tells us what action the subject is doing. In this case, it's an action that's doing something. The simple predicate is often simply called the verb of the sentence. Dwells in him is the complete predicate. It includes the verb and the phrase that modifies the verb. In this case, in him answers the question where. Where does it dwell? Okay, in him. So it modifies the verb. Another example. He who knew no sin became sin for us. He is the simple subject. He who knew no sin is the complete subject, because who knew no sin describes he. Became is the simple predicate. Again, just single word verb. Became sin for us is the complete predicate. Sin plus, became plus things describing the subject with the linking verb. This one, a little tricky, but I think you'll see the pattern. One day he will return to judge righteously. He is the simple subject. It's also the complete subject. There are no modifiers. He is the subject. Will return is the simple subject. Notice here it's a verb phrase. We've got the verb return plus the auxiliary verb will. One day will return to judge righteously is the complete subject. And you say, wait a minute, one day isn't with the rest of the verb. No, it's not, but it answers the question when, so it's acting like an adverb, and it modifies the verb. It doesn't really doesn't modify he. It's not a one-day he. It's one day modifies will return. It answers the question, when will he return? One day. Okay, modifiers of the predicate often begin a sentence. So you do have to watch out for that. We'll have, in this case, it's an adverbial noun, but a lot of times you'll have adverbial nouns or adverbs or prepositional phrases that are acting as adverbs that will begin a sentence, but they're actually modifying the verb. Now, we can have compound subjects. Two or more subjects that have the same verb and are joined by a conjunction are known as a compound subject. So, Peter and John went to the temple. Okay. Peter and John, more than one person, joined by and, okay. Compound subject, more than one person in the subject. Two or more verbs that have the same subject and are joined by a conjunction are known as a compound predicate. Sometimes we'll call that a compound verb, used interchangeably. So, a beggar held out his hand and asked for alms. Notice there are two actions. He held his hand, held out his hand, and asked for alms. He held and he asked. Okay, compound verb, compound predicate. And it's possible, sometimes, to have a compound subject and a compound predicate in the same sentence. John and Mary washed and waxed the car. Subject, two parts that are subject, joined by and. Two parts that are predicate, washed and waxed, joined by conjunction and. There are a few tricky subject constructions in English. I want to share those with you so you don't get thrown by them. In English, sentences with the imperative mood do not have a spoken subject. We say the subject is you understood. If I tell you to do something or ask you to do something, I usually don't say you. I can say you bring that here, but usually I just say bring that here please, or bring that here. Okay, so an imperative is a request or a command. Now sometimes to illustrate this, we'll write the you in brackets. So you see, follow me. Okay, we understand, okay, that's you, so we write the you in brackets. You follow me. Taste and see that the Lord is good. You taste and see that the Lord is good. Again, the you will sometimes write in brackets to show that it's you understood. Okay, so if you have an imperative sentence, there may not be an actual subject in the sentence, but then we understand it's you. When we ask a question in English, we usually change the word order of the sentence. So the subject will come either after the verb or come between the parts of the verb if it's a verb phrase. And these, of course, are called interrogative sentences. When you interrogate someone, you ask them questions. So a sentence that asks a question is called an interrogative sentence. So listen, who do you say that I am? Notice here, it's a verb phrase. The verb is do say, and the subject goes between the two parts of the verb. Okay. In this sentence, am I a dog to send a boy with sticks? Here, there's a simple verb am, but the subject comes after the verb when we ask a question. Am I a dog? So if somebody's asking a question, the normal word order will be changed, so the subject will probably be in a different position from what it usually is. The expression there plus the verb to be is an idiomatic expression in English. Idiomatic means that it doesn't have a literal meaning, but everybody kind of knows what it means. A lot of idioms will change from language to language. For example, if I'm a little hoarse in English, I might say, oh, I have a frog in my throat. In French, they say the equivalent of I have a cat in my throat. Okay, but that's an idiom. I mean, we understand. Frenchmen don't swallow cats, and Englishmen don't swallow frogs, but it's an idiom. Okay, in the same way, there is, there are, there were, there has been, and so on. That's an idiomatic expression pointing to something. And so in these expressions, the subject follows the verb. There is only one way to heaven. Way is the simple subject. And only one way to heaven is the complete subject. Is the verb. And there, you could argue that there modifies the verb, but it really doesn't have a grammatical function. It's idiomatic. Okay. Let's move this one there. There were 4 kinds of soil in the parable. Kinds is the simple subject. 4 kinds of soil is the complete subject. The phrase in the parable modifies the verb. It answers the question where. So it's part of the predicate. So, but again, there were is followed by the subject. Okay, sometimes we use inversion. We just change the word order for emphasis. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Name is the simple subject. The name of the Lord is the complete subject. But, we change the word order for emphasis. Happy I am. Okay, there's a song, I think by the Beatles, called Happy I Am. I is the simple and complete subject. Happy is part of the predicate describing the condition of the subject using a linking verb. Okay, sometimes again for emphasis, or maybe for the rhythm in a song or something like that, we'll change the word order. But I is the subject. And here I am. And we often use inversion when we begin a sentence with here or there, not idiomatically, but just here, there, literally. But a lot of times we'll say, oh, there it is, or here it is, here I am. So again, the word order changes a little bit. So don't be thrown by that. Obviously, I is the subject, not here. So that's all for today. Once again, I just remind you, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask in the class. If you're not in the class, go to EnglishPlus.com and go to the contact page there, and someone will be happy to answer your questions.